You guys, I can't. Hey guys, it's Jess from She's the Posh. Welcome back. And today I have some more info for you from the whole Rebag situation. I haven't gotten an update, nor have they paid me or anything. I have done some more internet sleuthing. So this time I was just looking at reviews, and I kind of like to see like what's going on to keep up to date. People do reach out to me. I make sure to let them know to file their case with the New York Consumer Protection Services and their own state. We need to address things that are going on. But the more I thought about it, I thought, well, where's this all coming from? Common denominator. There's the shipping and receiving department. It seems like things are disorganized in that particular area. And I decided, what do the employees have to say, right? So I looked at Glassdoor. I actually signed up. It's not something that I normally would do, but it's a free platform. All of this is fair use. I know we can take these reviews with a grain of salt. We aren't actually there. And a lot of these people no longer work for Rebag. So most likely not so nice things to say. But I just felt like it was interesting, some of the things that they were saying, because I think that you guys get on the same page that I am with what happened to my things and what has happened to other people. And it's just sad. Some of the ones I'm going to read to you are just sad that they're going through this. So let's get through this together. So I want to start with the one that was the most aha with me on what happened with my bag, because the whole thing's a cluster, right? We all know my bag got there. It's not FedEx. It didn't arrive damaged. We all know that. They got it. Something happened to shipping and receiving. We all can agree on that, because the box that they said my shoes were in, it just wasn't. Let's get into one of the reviews I found from an employee, and then we're going to go through just reading some of the other ones. But I wanted to give you this one because this is the one that I found was the most relevant to what had happened to me and what I think is going on there. Again, why you should not send your stuff to them. You should not do your consignment. It is happening inside the warehouse. This isn't like necessarily a shipping issue. This is a Rebag issue. So this particular person worked in inventory. So that are the people that are bringing the products in, organizing them. And this is what they had to say. So the only positive thing they had to say, they give it 2 stars, so it got more than 1 star. I will tell you that the total rating for Rebag is a 2.5, which is higher than I expected. And only 23% would recommend working there. And the approval rating of the CEO is only 26%. I understand working for retail is hard, so I would expect scores to be lower working in retail, especially with things that happened in 2020 and all this stuff. But let's just look through this one that I just found super interesting. So this person they wanted to be anonymous. They worked for less than a year. They did say there are some pros. Like apparently the biggest pros that I noticed with all of these is that they have great company outings. They do parties. They did a Halloween party, all that stuff. They get free breakfast on Friday. She said subpar breakfast on Fridays, and they do offer some kind of service like for Uber and to help people get there because they are in New York City. So they do have some perks. I think it's depending on what department you work for. So those are the common things that people had said as pros. I haven't really seen many pros about compensation like for pay and stuff like that, but that's what they said. So this is what they said about the warehouse. The warehouse, a bigger joke. Just know the bag y'all are spending thousands of dollars are stored in dirty plastic bags and thrown around on the floor constantly. There's no logic to how these products are stored when there are well of 30,000 units. So they had 30,000 units, the biggest they've had. Instead of getting more space for them, instead of expanding, basically she said they just crammed them all in there. The cheapos use half of the warehouse space and turned it into office space. So instead of spreading out, instead of doing the vault, like Fashion File has a beautiful vault and they have all these things and you can see all the bags stacked up. They're not touching each other. This sounds like the opposite. And this makes sense with the reviews that we're finding out the stuff is showing up damaged. I see fellow YouTubers that said, hey, this item came with more damage than it was supposed to, because it probably got thrown around on the floor. Because what I've noticed when I'm reading these reviews is they're constantly wanting you to push out more and more things. They are constantly trying to get you to get things out fast, faster turnarounds. So that's why all these mistakes and things are happening and why things are getting thrown on the floor, because they're just trying to be quick. I believe this 100% because of the state of my shoes coming back. The state of my boxes coming back. The fact that it took forever for my other 2 bags to come back that I didn't want to sell to them. And you see from pictures from my shoes, there was dirt inside the shoe. How the heck did this happen? How the heck did dirt get inside the shoe? It was not like that when I sent it in. Obviously, I wipe everything out and I wear socks on my feet. It didn't make sense. So there was that. And then there was my box with all these scuffs in it. I was just like, how did all these scuffs get in here? It was almost as if my shoes were just thrown in the box and it was just piled around. My receipt that I had in there that I put in with the boots that I thought might be helpful for them with selling, might add more value to it, was missing. It was gone. And here's what happened. My bag got there, guys. Like, no doubt in my mind now. The bag got there. It got misplaced. What I think happened, no doubt in my mind now, based on these reviews I'm reading, it seems that they have poor organization there. The employees are working super, super fast. They're going to make mistakes. All right. My item got there. So because they didn't scan it in, they lost it. That bag got put somewhere in the inventory and nobody knows who that bag belongs to. And that bag that I saw listed most likely was my bag. That it got misplaced. They probably have a pile of misplaced things that they still sell on their website. And it's not something I can necessarily prove, obviously. It's not something I can because I don't have the video footage. But I think it's something very interesting that I am going to make sure to tell New York Consumer Protection Services that this is what's happening, that they need to check, that they need to show that video footage to them because they are technically stealing from people. If you are being negligent with the property, you being negligent with other people's property, and then you sell it, you're stealing it. Like, that's a theft. So I don't really think that theft is happening from the employees on purpose necessarily. I think it's happening because of poor management and that they don't care. Continue, shall we? These arranged, I decided to do these arranged by the date they came in. So you'll see that there are some positive ones here. This one aligned with my life purpose, doubtful. Okay, nice until it isn't. Said it is hyper focused on growth. Occasional to point of putting work and human capital before people. On that same note, this can easily lead to excess pivot and burning out. So that just shows again, they are constantly making people burned out. Fun, rewarding, great people. So this one says that they were a former employee. The cons were tons of restructuring took place. And that's something I noticed too. A lot of different people, like I've had so many different like sales associates throughout, always constantly changing. Interesting with this one is it says the past year, including the outsourcing of roles across all departments. So from what employees have been saying is that they outsource their customer service, which we realized, and they also outsource HR department, so human resources. So these employees that have complaints and they have things that they have problems with, they're sending it overseas to somebody else to tell them about. And it says this outsourcing is causing the US employees to take more responsibility with their roles. And that makes sense because if you're talking to someone in Dubai, they're not going to understand what's going on. They can't physically look at the stuff that's in the store, right? They can't physically look at the things and find out what happened. So when they're getting a complaint, they have to call people here at the US and say, hey, where's this bag? Like when I was having my problems, they literally had to contact someone in the warehouse to try to figure it out where my stuff was. Well, they're too busy trying to ship stuff out. No wonder they couldn't find my bag or figure out what happened. Terrible. Rebag is extremely draining and problematic. Sales goals are unachievable. I also saw when I was reading this, new management, no one knows what they're doing because good people are not going to stay and do this stuff. Again, unrealistic expectations. A lot of these I've seen is they guilt you into working overtime. They make you work longer hours. No commission. So if you're a sales associate working in one of the stores, you get no commission. And this was dated December 7th, 2022. So they get no commission. Company will promise monthly bonuses, but trust me, you won't get it. There's always some sort of loophole when it comes to the bonus. There's always a new process implemented that you have to learn and teach or inform customers about. Like, this is crazy. Company will implement write-ups for not meeting monthly goals. So you get in trouble if you don't reach your goal. Instead of them saying, hey, why didn't we reach that goal? What could we have done better? Was it an unrealistic goal? They just say you should have been able to reach it. And then this happens all the time. You have management that has no idea. Like if they've never worked retail before, if you've never actually worked in the store and know what's going on, if you never worked side by side with people, then how the hell are you going to tell people what to do and what should work best? Just my opinion, being very successful. They only give you 30-minute breaks. So all they care about is the numbers. And they are not a publicly traded company. So it's not like they have shareholders that they have to attend to, which is why some of the stuff happens. But they do have, I would say, investors that invested in them. And that's who they probably have to answer to. It becomes impossible to get through a workday without being yelled at or having to cry in the bathroom. These get sadder, guys. What you need to do is when something fails or a system doesn't work or something like that happens, it is the leader's fault. If people on my team, under me, technically, based on how the operations are going, didn't succeed in something, that's my fault. That's not their fault. I didn't provide them with the right tools to be successful. What did I not provide them? Was it resources? Was it the information? Was it unrealistic goals? What went wrong has to start from the top. And I feel like when you're a leader, your job is to serve the people below you. It's not their job to serve you. That is my professional opinion. For me, if I was taking over Rebag, this company, one of the first things I would do is systems. I would look at their systems that they have in place and how they're going to track things. And I would say, that's where we got to send our resources. We got to send a reason. I would have management literally working in the warehouse. I'd be like, listen, if I was their CEO, I'm working in the warehouse, you're getting in there, put your tennies on, and start looking through here and doing the systems and see what's working, what's not working. This one really got to me. So it said, you can and should do better. It was almost like this person was writing this for themselves, like as a motivation to get out. And it says pros, there are some benefits, but this job is more or less a trap. First of all, don't become a warehouse employee. It's pretty much the equivalent to factory or sweatshop work. At corporate, their environment is much more positive and beneficial. I'll start off with the positive benefits. It says that, you have insurance, annual bonuses based on how well you did that year, Metro card, breakfast free on Fridays, free lunches on holidays, and very casual dress, team trips that are paid for, vacations, sick days, discount for luxury purchases. Okay, this person says they did get a discount for luxury purchases and cool office space. This is a great job if you're a recent college graduate. Like, it seems like they're like, it's great if you're a startup, not if you're someone that is super experienced. Cons, expect to feel uncomfortable. This company is physically and mentally draining. They rob you of your mental health. Realistically, there are no long-term growth at this company, and it is not really encouraged. There are caps for every position. It's unlikely to move up within the company unless you've been there for 3+ years. The management is completely narcissistic and all about asserting dominance and control over their employees. This is the kind of job that makes you feel guilty for taking a day off and is completely soul crushing to go to. Employees are also great and team oriented, but you're crushed every day by negative and poor managers that are only interested in pushing out products. They are emotionless and couldn't really care about you and what you bring to the table. They just need you to be a robot and make their numbers. And if you don't, they breathe down your neck watching you instead of helping you. Like, if you see your team struggling, get down there and freaking help them. Everything you do is noted. Management basically waits for you to make a mistake so they can send a mass email in a threatening tone. This is a common denominator that I'm reading from all this, is that their tactic is, if you do something wrong, they share it with everybody and they humiliate you. Instead of like just pulling you aside, like, hey, what's going on? Like, just to let you know, I saw you doing something wrong. Let me help you correct that. They are literally just humiliating you. That doesn't make any sense. Like, how is that going to make the employee want to work hard for you and want to do a great job if you're humiliating them in front of people? The warehouse is so quiet because talking is essentially frowned upon because it takes away from your work. It says rules are constantly changed without notice, and usually this happens when an employee finds something beneficial to them, but then it's completely taken away. They abuse every loophole they can. They have taken away chairs from people so that they can work more and almost threatened to take people's cell phones away. They took chairs away. So you can't sit down at all. You can't sit down. They get a 30-minute break. What are they supposed to do? Stand, eat their sandwich? Like, that one broke my heart. And there's more than one person that talked about you can't sit down. That just makes me so freaking sad. The company knows how to exploit their employees, and trust me, they do. It's just so sad. No, I didn't get through all this, but I think I'm gonna have to take a break because this is just making me so sad. And I did look up Fashion File to kind of get an equivalent to it. So when I looked at Fashion File, again, it's retail. Oops, I just kicked you. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to kick you. But when I looked at Fashion File, like their scores, I believe they were 2.8, so they're not much higher. However, what I noticed with the stuff that they had negative to say versus the other stuff, some of it is pay, some of it is long hours and different things, and like stressful work environment, which it can be. Like, jobs can be totally stressful, especially working retail, working in an environment where it is very fast paced. Absolutely, there's burnout and things that can happen. But there wasn't anything that I saw when I was reading those that were making me think that people were not allowed to sit down, that people were being threatened, bullied, and harassed. I heard like your bad management skills, all that stuff, which is going to happen in all different spots. But what I did notice is that underneath, Fashion File responded to the people. And they said, based on our pay structure, we research what is done in the area, but feel free to address your concerns. We always want to hear it. Like, literally, they wrote under each one. Like, they were, most likely they could have, maybe they set up, but they were different per one. Like, one was about pay, so maybe they just copy and paste. But it seems like they're reading it and it seems like they're interested in it. Whereas Rebag, no response, nothing. It made me feel very sad. Like, I went through a place of being like mad at the employees because I'm thinking they're just stealing stuff. But it makes you think that it's deeper than that, guys. There is something going on, and it's not necessarily the employees of Rebag's fault. Who I blame for this is the owner, the CEO. I actually reached out to him on Instagram. He never responded or anything, and told him what happened. Like, they know what's happening. They know that they had my bag and it got misplaced. They just couldn't tell me. I still don't understand. Like, most likely they had my bag, it was misplaced. Why didn't they just pay me for it? Because if they had just paid me for it, they wouldn't be dealing with this and me getting into all this nitty gritty. And I did have someone give me a suggestion, and I wanted to ask you guys too, that I should give this information to Diet Prada and see about them maybe doing some research or doing a story on it. And I think we got more than enough. And I'm hoping that this is enough to get them investigated for the employees' sake. I really don't think Rebag, I'll be surprised if Rebag survives another 2 years the way they're going. Because I'm sorry, you treat employees like that, they're going to share. And some of them in there said illegal things. A lot of the illegal things they're claiming is based on the work environment. So they treat them as contracted employees before they give them benefits. So a lot of people are contracted for like 3 months. And so they don't have to do taxes. So you're responsible for your own taxes because you're considered a contracted employee. And some people say they lost their job because they were questioning things. People lose their jobs, they're more upset and they're going to say things. But what I tend to do is when I read these, and I'm going to give the link for you guys if you are interested in looking at this as well. The common denominator is just they bully and they belittle, and it feels like an unsafe work environment. Their systems are terrible. They lose your stuff, and they're going to lose your stuff. And the reason, it makes perfect sense when someone said, oh, I got a bag, it has a hole in it, and they returned it, this hole wasn't disclosed. The hole got in there because it was jammed in a bunch of shelves and got squished. Like, that's why things are getting dented. That's why things have marks on them that weren't disclosed, is because they're handling them roughly because they're trying to be fast. That's why they're not sharing me the video footage. I bet their warehouse looks terrible. And then you see Fashion File and they have this beautiful shelving where everything is organized, not touching. So that's all for this video. I will do another follow-up video reading some of the other ones that I have. It just got depressing, so I'm going to take a break. But as always, I want to thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again. Bye, guys.